How do folks? David here with another video. Sorry, it's not a crafty one because, to be perfectly honest, there has been a sum total of 0 crafting or painting done this week, unfortunately, due to outside circumstances. But it is a follow-up on a video that I'll leave just up there, if that's the right place, where I was talking about essentially inspirations. A viewer commented on that particular video, and my was it a blast from the past. New there, Yatesy. Why is it a follow-up? Well, because Yatesy was back around the time when an awful lot of those inspirations were going on. So he's got some good insights. In fact, he was one of the players. Remember, I have continually talked about Ian and the floor tiles and the matchsticks and the blue tack. Yatesy was one of the players that was present at that game, and it was an absolute belter. Now, me and Yatesy go back so far that I think we first met, we weren't even teens. In D&D terms, he was, I believe, the third player that, or third person rather, that DM'd a game that I played in. Now, we started off with the basic Dungeons and Dragons set. So it wasn't a D&D, it was Dungeons and Dragons. And we went through the red basic set, we went through the expert set, the companion set, and I've forgotten what the black one was. Now, being as young as we were, it has to be said that our playstyle was a bit on the rough and ready side. In fact, it was a lot on the rough and ready side.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be.
Yatesy, I'm sure you remember that chap. But can you remember the time where we polymorphed him into a chicken, plucked him, roasted him, ate him as rations, and then kept the carcass so we could resurrect it? Did we ever get forgiven for that? When we essentially retired that campaign, we had characters that were up in the 30 odd level. And that was the point where we essentially started playing AD&D, both through different routes. I was looking for a Starfleet Battles player to go up against, and a guy called Bill got in touch with me, and he invited me along to an AD&D game that they were playing, run by Ian. One of the other guys there, Jeff, unbeknownst to us, was actually going to college with Yatesy. And he was talking about this game and this new guy that had just joined the group, etc., etc. We put 2 and 2 together and found out we both knew people from the same group, and we ended up playing there. But that is not the point of this story. Yatesy is a legend. He doesn't realise it, but I'm going to remind him of a particular incident that I was not part of. I simply watched it unfold. Now, back in that inspiration video, I talked about being inspired by the phrase,
I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
And that essentially I believe that, there's always a decision, an idea. Your opponent can make a mistake, you can have a lucky dice roll, something that can pull you out of the fire and get a victory where everything looked absolutely hopeless. Yatesy is the epitome. Gather around and I'll tell you what happened. So even though they were both going to college together, there was a fair amount of banter and rivalry between Yatesy and his mate Jeff. The campaign that we joined had been running for a little while, and Jeff, I believe, had got up to something like a 5th or 6th level Cavalier, and we were joining with 1st level characters. Yatesy took a Samurai, I believe. I could have them the wrong way around, but I am relatively certain it was Jeff that had the Cavalier because he had an absolutely insane armor class. And Yatesy, even though a Samurai does have a fair amount of starting money and his weaponry and armor was certainly respectable, there was no real way that, in a one-on-one fight, it was only ever going to end up one way. However, when you take both of those character classes into account, they both have their honor codes, and I cannot recall who it was that said what to who. I'm reasonably certain it was Jeff did something to insult Yatesy, because obviously he had a far more powerful character. So he had that confidence, and it was like, yeah, I can boss my way around. Samurai Code, Yatesy was not allowed to have a bar of this, and so a duel unfurled. Jeff, being that many levels above and with his equipment, had a reasonably good chance of hitting Yatesy. Yatesy, on the other hand, needed natural 20s. That was it, had to be a natural 20, and of course, because he needed more than that, but a natural 20 was always going to hit, it wasn't going to count as any kind of critical and cause double damage, it was simply going to be a hit. And so the fight unfurled. Round 1. Jeff took a swing and missed. Yatesy, natural 20, pinged some hit points off. Jeff was not a happy camper. Right. Sleeves get rolled up. Round 2. Jeff rolls a miss. Yatesy, natural 20. If I recall correctly, it was round about this point where Jeff started arguing over some kind of semantics with Ian, the dungeon master. But Ian did point out at the end of the day, hey, you're the one that started this, and no, you're not going to get the chance to back out. Come on, you've got massive advantage over him. Round 3, Jeff misses. Yatesy rolls a natural 20. And of course, by this point, the rest of the players are starting to piss themselves laughing. And Jeff is going absolutely mental. Quickly, rolls for initiative. He gets the initiative. Rolls for attack. Misses. Yatesy rolls a natural 20. And by this point, Jeff is now under 10 hit points. Can anybody see where this is going yet? Jeff is protesting massively at Ian about how this is all unfair and it shouldn't be working out like this, whatever the hell it was. And Ian turned around and said, look, it's a moot point. He needs to roll another natural 20 to take you down. There is no way he is going to get 5 in a row. Yatesy wins the initiative. Do you want to guess what he rolled? And Jeff's character went down like a sack of potatoes. There was absolute uproar around the table. I mean, let's face it, I cannot recall seeing any more than 2 natural 20s in a row outside of that particular instant. But hand on heart, 5 in a row, okay? That is absolutely legendary. Statistically possible, I have witnessed it. There is no such thing as the no-win scenario. Yatesy, the honour, Meowlmara, goes to you. And that, as you pointed out, is one of those memories from our youth that, on occasion, will get dragged out and recounted as one of the most lopsided combats I've ever seen. Jeez, Jeff was wild. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you in a week of not so pleasant things and not a great deal happening with the hobby. Hearing from Yatesy and bringing those memories back was probably one of the highlights. And I haven't forgotten about that module Death Ride and Corbunda. That's a tale for another time. However, that is it for this time. There's going to be another video hopefully out in the next couple of days, because one of the things that I have realised is that even though it says on the channel the minimal DM, there's not a great deal of advice that I have been actually giving about DMing or talking about AD&D and games and things like that until I sort of like went on a rant the other day. So I am going to be rectifying that between us. Me and me mate have many years of experience of doing this. There must be something that we can pass on. So I will be having a look at some of the what is, according to the internet, the biggest pain points for DMs, especially new DMs, and we'll be seeing if there is any way we can get around that. That is it from me for this evening. You know the story with the social media stuff, I'm not going to remind you. Toodle poop for now.